Bounty kicks off with Callie armed and in the woods, and it's unlikely she's here to bond with the others on a hunting trip. Not unless it's for Federation troops. They're always in season. Blake's on his way back with the cooler full of beer, so Callie warns him telepathically about the guards. I'm telling you, it's a neon orange Titleist. If you'd hit it in this clearing, we'd have seen it by now. Blake and Callie are here because they need to rescue someone. And apparently that someone is Charlie Chaplin. Our heroes recognize President Sarkov riding in the back, but as they head on their way, they pass some kind of sensor, although the leader of the squad in the woods is a bit incredulous since there's a lot of false positives. It's the frickin' woods, after all. But he calls a red alert anyway. Won't be his ass if it's just something harmless like a squirrel they're chasing, but it will be his ass if it's something dangerous, like a squirrel with a rocket launcher. Well, the car arrives at its destination. I can never predict what upsets people, but I'm going to go on a limb and say there's going to be at least one person upset with my thought process when I saw this. It started out with, what 6-year-old child designed this set? Then it was, wait, the BBC would never pay for a set that big. Then it panned up to show this huge tower on top, and it was, so this is an actual building in England, huh? One that is not, in fact, built around a medieval-themed hotel and restaurant. So yes, I dug into it. That is the Waterloo Tower of Quex Park. I have no idea if that's how you pronounce Quex Park, but given the fact that Jeremy Paxton once pronounced Don Quixote as Don Quixote on television, I think I'm safe. The builder of this tower was fascinated with Napoleon, and had been born the same year as him, actually. If you're thinking this guy's odd, just wait. He had this tower built in the late 1810s because of his love of campanology, which I'm not ashamed to admit I had to go look up. Turns out it's the study or practice of ringing bells. So he built himself a big bell tower and naturally gave it battlements and murder holes should any neighbors come around and complain. Everything about this, the more you peel back, the more amazing it becomes. The name of the man who built this tower is John Powell Powell. No, that's not an error. His name is John Powell Powell. Well, John Powell Powell was apparently celebrating British pride in the wake of the defeat of Napoleon, and chose to express this pride naturally by constructing a weaponized glockenspiel. Gothic revival architecture was quite common at the time, although imbuing incredible character with its prominent spires and generally avoiding John Powell Powell's approach of walls that would not be out of place for a gingerbread house. John Powell Powell, to me, sounds very much like a mix of MC Hammer and Bloody Stupid Johnson. Getting back to the story, Blake tells the crew that security is tighter than expected while they're dealing with an unidentified ship coming in that won't answer hails, but it isn't Federation, at least according to Zen. They've decided to investigate.
I don't like the look of that.
Not again, Villa.
I'm entitled to my opinion.
It is your assumption that we are entitled to it as well that is irritating.
Still, Avon is very cautious about it. As he notes, the success of a trap is not measured by the degree of suspicion it creates, but whether or not it catches anything. On a similar topic, the security team is out doing their Strider impression and deducing from marks on the ground that 2 intruders came through here. While they go off to track them down and possibly some Uruk-hai, Liberator finally gets close enough to the ship to get a distress signal from the Star Queen. But only Gan believes it, and so suggests he go over. And if it turns out he's wrong and it's a trap, then Villa can feel free to deliver a laser-filled I told you so. Meanwhile, Blake starts scaling the wall while Callie provides cover. Only a guard comes. Well, there's only one thing to do. The old Super Mario Brothers attack. Gets him every time. Well, Gan is taking a long time, but finally checks in and asks to be brought back. Only Zen tells Villa that that's not Gan, just an amazing simulation. Villa tries in vain to tell Jenna and Avon not to do it, but it's too late.
Avon, answer me.
Avon, That expression on their face says it's either intruders or Brian Blessed somehow came back. Well, with them two out of the picture, that leaves only Villa to deal with whatever that was, who is posing for the dictionary's illustration for the meaning of miserable. He arms himself and heads back there, trying to psych himself up. Takes a few running starts to get there finally for him. While he sees to that, Blake infiltrates the castle and finds a museum of old Earth stuff. Sarkov shows up, sees Blake admiring his butterfly collection, and proceeds to shoot the breeze with the intruder. Even worse, he presumes that Blake is an assassin, and his reaction is like, "Oh, I see, my 220 assassin has arrived earlier. Can I have you wait in the lounge? I haven't finished organizing my stamps yet." Although his collection does include a revolver.
Will you listen to what I have to...
Well, you may know a lot about natural history, Sarkov, but you've got a lot to learn about firearm safety. Blake keeps trying to explain that he's not here to murder him. But Sarkov now presumes he's just using semantics, and that all he's going to say is a justification for why killing him isn't murder. Before Blake can get him to understand that he is not here to terminate Sarkov's existence, the driver comes in and disarms him. Survival by filibuster. Blake finally gets to say what he's here for, to bring Sarkov back to his people. Alive, we should note. Only Sarkov doesn't want to go back. Says he's not the same man that he was. When Callie arrives, she answers his question of her opinion on it by saying she has no opinion, only facts. He is needed. This is really getting into a semantics game today.
Would we have risked our lives for an opinion?
You've never met humans before, have you? The backstory is that Sarkov resisted urging to join the Federation. He wanted to remain independent. So finally he offered the opportunity for a vote of no confidence and lost. What made this particularly hard, though, was that they didn't join the Federation, meaning they hadn't rejected the policy, they rejected the man himself. He retired to a Federation planet when they offered to protect him, and now he collects Earth junk. What a time to be alive. Well, Blake's here because the factions of that planet have grown so divisive that civil war is inevitable. When that happens, the Federation will send in peacekeeping forces and never leave again. It's why they rigged the election so that Sarkov would be rejected, and they feed doctored reports to him of what's going on back home. But Sarkov's wounded pride leaves him disinclined to return, but his bodyguard knows that he must, and at Blake's urging, makes him put on a teleportation bracelet. But he just takes it off again, since, no one is around to beam him up. The bodyguard is going along, but since they're not beaming off this planet right now, we're going to need to use the car. We'll drive our way to the other planet. Blake uses an explosive to create a distraction so they can get to the car, while coming up with a way to convince Sarkov to change his mind. Blake just broke a record! I regret nothing. With the threat to destroy the entire collection piece by piece, Sarkov gives in and agrees to go along. Fine, I'll rule the world if it'll get you off my back. The problem with the old-timey car, though, is it still runs on jack-in-the-box technology, so to get it going, Blake needs to crank the handle, giving the guards time to arrive. Fortunately, only one is fast enough to actually reach them, and Blake catches him by surprise. Well, that just leaves...
Liberator, this is Blake. Do you read me? Respond.
I think it's safe to say that Villa hasn't been die-harding it this whole time. They managed to get teleported up just before they're caught, but no idea who did it. Blake asks Zen where everyone is, but Zen has no idea, other than not here in this room right now, which is a big help. Blake soon finds Jenna, who says the others are all dead, but it's all just to catch him unawares so he can be knocked out by some kind of spray. Turns out they're Amagon, outlaws, normally smugglers, but in this case, bounty hunters. You might think, shapeshifters, that's how they imitated Gan's voice. Nope, they used a voice synthesizer for that, and Jenna, she switched sides. How does it feel to find out one of them betrayed the group, and it wasn't the one you'd think would only look after himself? Well, it turned out Jenna played along because she used to know the guy in charge, and Sarkov's bodyguard says nasty things about Jenna's lack of loyalty. But there's no reason for her to keep quiet. They're not the ones the bounty hunters are after. No, the Liberator and her crew are the ones they want. 15 million. Well, 12 million without Jenna. Nice to be wanted. She's allowed to leave with an escort when she says that there are riches on board, which there are, worth far more than the bounty on this ship, which is probably true. He's not dumb, though, unless you can't trust that dipshit to successfully keep someone who's unarmed in line. But he is very greedy.
You'd sell your grandmother, wouldn't you?
I did.
She either helped raise you very right or helped raise you very wrong. Jenna runs into another guard, bluffing enough not to turn her in, but not enough to just let her go on unsupervised. After checking up on her shipmates, she disarms the other guard, but they're not sure where her loyalties lie right now, so they move forward with their escape plan. Villa has removed the explosive collar around Blake's neck, and Avon has unlocked the door, so one of them can get around at least. Jenna helps Blake when he's nearly ambushed, so that loyalty thing is sorted out. Or this is some kind of quadruple double dog bluff. Well, the bodyguard is, in fact, not just a bodyguard. She's Sarkov's daughter, and she is not going to go along with this plan. She pulls a tiny old-time holdout pistol out, but the bad guy just slaps it away, and she's about to have her head blown off. Sarkov takes up the gun, hesitates, but thanks to Blake's distraction, he finally pulls the trigger and deals with the naughty bounty hunter. Well, with that sorted out, they head to Sarkov's planet and send him and his daughter down so they can get to work restoring order and setting up an alliance with Callie's people. And, of course, to hire someone to put all his Earth crap on eBay. Tyrnation sent over a script for Bounty that was far, far too short, forcing Chris Boucher to find points to try to flesh it out. As a result, the pacing is uneven. You can tell the scenes where they just needed to keep the cameras rolling to fill air. This is particularly egregious considering that Gann, Villa, and Avon had almost nothing to do, unless you want to count Villa and Avon futzing with props. One thing that was added, though, was Blake threatening to destroy the collection to make Sarkov leave. This addition not only shows Blake's view that all things are subordinate to the cause, but that this especially applies in this situation. Something might be a priceless and irreplaceable relic, yet in the end it is still just a thing. The fate of people is vastly more important. Presenting Sarkov in this light adds a nice bit of complexity, though. A man who has lost faith and so found a fixation for himself, living in the past so that he can ignore the present. The episode's got some positives, but there were flaws baked into this that really hurt this episode.